welcome to my channel Inch by Inch Art. This video is the first of the shipbuilding from the series for Crafting for Hope. Please take a look at my intro video to the series to understand how the fundraiser works, what the competition is, and what's involved. So this ship is going to be the Klingon Bird of Prey. These are some reference images I used in my design. I started out by scaling and cutting out some blueprints of the ships that I wanted to use and have something to check against as I built my little ship. The core is a copper wire armature, which I'm cutting here. This is 100% wool yarn. All of the materials that I'm using need to be needle felt compatible, and I'm going to be giving this to my infant son. It's going to be mobile for his room, but I also wanted all the ships to be detachable so they are baby safe and can be used as toys. This is my needle that I'm using for needle felting, just showing you how I install the needle. Once I've wrapped the wool yarn around my metal armature, I'm using the needle for needle felting to just secure the yarn in place. It's much easier to do this than trying to tie it really tightly. Now for the skin of my ships, I'm using, again, 100% wool, but this is a felt. I'm using my blueprint and I'm marking with a marker a larger size than is necessary, because when you do needle felting, as it pulls the fibers together, it tends to have some shrinkage. It also, being a 3D object, will need to go around areas that are bulging or stick out further, so having the outer template be oversized gives you a bit of play. So for this ship, I need 2 equal pieces, and I have to do this in a particular way for it to work properly. I'm needle felting the top into my armature so that it'll be secure. And then I'm taking my bottom, and you can see here I'm lining up the blueprint, and I'm going to use this black marker to mark where the red wings are. Now the reason I'm doing this is because the wings are very thin, and when you needle felt, it pulls the fiber all the way through to wherever the needle ends, and you really want to push it all the way through your foundation fiber so that it has a really good hold. And if I tried to do this when the wings were completely assembled, it would just pull the red fibers through to the top. It might make more sense as you watch and see how I make it. So I'm just putting the red for the red wings through this piece. You can see I'm stabbing it back through. So like if I had put the whole thing together and needle felted the red, that red fibers that you just saw would have come through the top, and the top of the Bird of Prey wings are not red, so I didn't want that there. At this point, I've realized that I need a little bit more to the body, so I'm just adding more of that same wool yarn and making a bit of a ball towards the back, as the ship is a bit of like a wasp kind of shape, where it has a little round head, thin neck, and then a fairly broad, rounded body in some spots. Now that both my red wing details are done, I can needle felt the bottom half onto my armature, and I'm just felting it so that it meets and or overlaps where the top piece I already felted onto the armature is. And as I go, I'm constantly checking against my little blueprint to make sure that I'm felting to scale as close as possible. This project was a massive learning experience. I haven't actually done a lot of needle felting in the past. I am adding more pieces of felt and building up the ship in the areas that are too smooth or too tight to the armature to try and make it look as much like the ship as possible. Once I have the basic shape done, I then move on to details. I'm just going to show little clips of some of the details that I did. So this is some of the areas where I put the red, and again, this is all 100% wool, which it needs to be to needle felt properly. Here's all the yellow, red, and white details done. Now I'm just moving on to the back top of the wings for a detail that's on the actual ships. I decided to make a little template for this particular part out of masking tape. I didn't quite have the color that I needed. It was sort of like a brownish black color in the images that I found. So here I am showing how I made my own custom color by pulling and felting two wool colors together. Once I have the color mixed consistently the way I want, I'm just going to do a bit of felting with my hands by rubbing the wool back and forth. This makes the fibers bind to each other without actually having to use the needle. Once I get it to a good state, I use the needle to make it a bit firmer and shrink down the size. And then I cut it to shape using my template before putting it onto the ship. Again, just needle felting it into place, being very careful to not stab down through the wings, because again, if I do that, then I'll end up with this black color wherever the needle ends, which would probably be the bottom of the wings, and I don't want that. Here's some progress photos. I did this because I made a mistake in my footage and I completely lost trying to do this awesome wing detail on the bottom. I wasn't originally going to do it, but my family talked me into it. Here's a bit of footage that might be a little bit confusing, so I'll just explain. So, as I mentioned before, this is intended to also be a toy for my infant. I lost the footage here as well, unfortunately, because it was part of doing the last bits of the wings, but I had used some recycled wrapper material to try and make the wings have like a crinkle effect, and it just didn't come out right. It wasn't anywhere near as crinkly as I wanted or I knew my baby would enjoy, so I ended up ripping apart a crinkle-winged bug that he never plays with, and removed its wings, took out the crinkly plastic material that they use for those toys, and inserted it into the wings, then needle felting the wings shut around the crinkly material. As you can hear, it is far superior to what it was. I've changed the material in the right wing, and I haven't done it yet in the left wing. You can hear in the left wing it really does nothing. And time for the final shots. I think it came out really good. I'm really satisfied with this one in particular. I love the Klingon Bird of Prey. I think it's a really cool ship, and I was quite proud that this was the third thing I've ever needle felted and the second of my series of ships. So again, if you'd like to learn more about this fundraiser, please check out my intro video or go to the link in the description below. If you'd like to see more of me making this mobile or me making my art, please like, follow, and subscribe.